Hey everybody, Ashley Francis here, the holistic psychotherapist, licensed marriage and family therapist here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. Now today I'm going to talk about 5 signs to tell if you are in an unhealthy relationship, and then 5 things that you can do to get out of the unhealthy relationship or to try and improve it. So let's go ahead and hop in. There is a full list of a lot of other characteristics to help you learn to identify what an unhealthy relationship looks like in the description below. These are just my top 5 that speak so personally to me, especially because I just got into it with a friend this morning, and I decided to end that relationship. It was a really toxic situation, and to be honest, I've been pretty emotional about it today. Even cried off my makeup, and this is my second go around, so bear with me. But yeah, this is it's a subject that is very near and dear to my heart, and yeah, kind of raw, and just in it right now. So I think it holds extra relevance because it's something that I'm personally going through at the moment. So my top 5 that I see for myself in relationships with other people, but also what I see professionally in my practice as well. So one is that there is all take and no give. Yeah. So this person is constantly looking for what they can get out of you. They're not putting in very much effort into the relationship as a whole. They're not too concerned about what your wants and needs are. It's really all about them, what can work for them, what's convenient for them, and maybe even what they can get out of you. So it's a very one-sided relationship. And sometimes this can take a little while to really see this dynamic show up. It may not be as obvious in the beginning, but it is definitely something that you will be able to notice after a certain amount of time. And the second is lack of trust. It's a no-brainer here, but sometimes when we're in relationships, we become so consumed with the emotionality of it, it's really hard to see this stuff objectively. So if you are guilty of these things, I know I am, I have been, and will continue to be in my own healing process. Go easy on yourself. These things are going to happen. We're human, but it's all information to take in and learn so we can do things differently. Lack of trust. If you can't trust what the person is saying, then there is no trust. If you can't have trust in yourself, then there is no trust. If there's not trust in the relationship, it's basically being able to mean what you say what you mean, and believe that the other person is being honest in whatever responses they're giving. So you've got to have that trust there. The next is lack of communication. So if you and your partner or even a friend are locked in this state of not communicating with one another, you stop texting, you stop calling, the conversations tend to be very surface level, they're very superficial. That's not really communicating. You might be lying to yourself and saying, well, I talk to them all the time. But what's the content of what you're talking about? Are you talking about real issues? Are you bringing things to the forefront that are of concern for you? Is your partner or friend also bringing things that are of concern for them to the forefront? Are you guys really digging in deep and talking about the important stuff? And most of us, at some point or another, if we're really being honest with ourselves, don't do that. Okay, so the next one is insufficient support. So this really has to do with your partner or your friend not supporting your hopes, dreams, and desires. So if you've got a hobby that you're into and your partner or friend doesn't seem to be expressing very much interest, that doesn't feel very good, does it? The people that are closest to in our lives are the ones that we need the most support from. So it's nice and appreciated when they show interest in what you are interested in. And from that can come really deep conversations and opportunities for connection. If your person doesn't seem to be very supportive of where you're going and what your life's goals are, then there's only so much depth that relationship really has. And the next one is that you lower your high standards. This one is my favorite because it's sort of covert. It sneaks in when you're not paying attention. And I think out of all 5, this is the one that I'm most guilty of. As I continue to work through my anxious attachment wounds and seeing how this shows up in my friendships, relationships, all of the above, I've done a good job at being able to establish and enforce boundaries, but I'm not good at it all the time. Certainly not, far from it. And I think one of the things that creeps in is I've created these nice, high, healthy standards for myself, but we get lazy, you know? We become so engrossed in the relationship, or we start to become more complacent because we feel like we got it like that, and we don't need to keep pushing. We don't need to keep putting as much effort in as we once did. And sometimes that can make us lower our standards. So maybe your partner has told a lie and you justified it. You said, oh, you know what? They're under a whole lot of stress right now. It's okay. I'm going to let this one go. Or maybe they were harshly disciplining the children and it was something that you really didn't agree with. Again, something that you choose to let go. Or you are dating men that are abusive, that are outright abusive. They will say and do things that hurt you. They will put you down. There's a large degree of denying, minimizing, and blaming. Those are the 3 really big characteristics, especially in verbal and psychological abuse. And so this can make you lower your standards because they will be communicating such a low sense of self. They'll be communicating such strong feelings and strong words that you start to actually believe them over time. So you start to lower your high standards, but you might not even notice that you're doing it because it is something that is cumulative and happens over time. Okay, so now let's talk about the 4 ways in which we can treat an unhealthy relationship. So the first is to seek help from loved ones and or professionals. It's easiest to seek the help from our loved ones because they're most accessible. So I'd say start with them first. But the other aspect of this too is being able to accept the help. Because sometimes we're not in a place where we're able to seek it. Maybe we don't know we're in an unhealthy relationship. But if a loved one is pointing it out to you, have the awareness, have the openness to be able to take the information in, even if you don't agree with it. Be able to take it in, listen to them, take note of it. You get to decide whether you agree or disagree, but at least have some space and some room for it. And the second is to express your feelings. So if you feel like someone is violating you, speak up. You've got to tell them, what you said hurt my feelings, or I don't feel like I deserve that. And in the same breath, you also have to be able to take responsibility for your side of things too. In the incident this morning, I feel like I did a pretty good job taking responsibility for my end because I'm not innocent by any means, but I didn't feel like there was any responsibility taken on their end, and that was especially hurtful for me. So that's a piece of it too. When you're expressing your feelings, it's also about taking responsibility. The third is to make a decision based on all the information. Now you've sought support and you've expressed your feelings. What are you going to do with all that? If the person has demonstrated to you that there is a pattern of unhealthy behavior, it's probably time to cut it off. Or even just having a bad feeling in your gut. You don't even have to have evidence. If it doesn't feel good to you, if it feels like there's a hostile environment, you feel uncomfortable, feels unhealthy, it might be time to cut it off. But if the person is receptive to the feedback and they're willing to work on it, perhaps go to therapy with you, then your decision is to keep working it out. And then finally, stick to your decision. This is the hardest one, and this is where you're going to need to invoke some help from your family and friends once again. You might be tempted to text that person. You might be tempted to call them or accidentally try to run into them at the grocery store, all of which are really bad ideas. Because once you've made your decision, and if that decision is to end the relationship, that's what it means. End of relationship, end of contact. Delete that person from your life completely so that you will not have the temptation to reach out to them when you're having a weak moment. Definitely been guilty of that quite a few times. All right, so that will do it for our talk on unhealthy relationships. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what your experience is in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to see more videos like this. Take care.